Hey everyone, this is Ben and welcome back to another video. This time around, I am doing fictional movies that you all are going to love. What I'm going to review today is a career that started Steven Spielberg's famous directing skills. And the film that I'm going to talk to you about is a very famous classic blockbuster film. And so, the film that I'm going to talk about today is Jaws. For those that don't know, Jaws is an American blockbuster film that came out in 1975, and it's based on the novel by Peter Benchley. The film is directed by Steven Spielberg, the score is composed by John Williams, and the cast stars Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, Robert Shaw, Murray Hamilton, and Lorraine Gary. And so, sit back, relax, and take in this video as I dive you into the world of how Steven Spielberg started his amazing, famous directing career, and how this film, Jaws, came to be one of the most iconic classics in film history. And without further ado, let's dive into the story of Jaws and see how well the film holds up. Set in the small town of Enemy Island, Brody, the chief of police, after learning that a recent victim was killed by a giant shark, decides to close the beaches for the safety of the town. But the mayor of the town refuses due to the fact that it's the 4th of July. But when a giant shark kills another victim, the mayor reluctantly agrees to allow Brody to hunt it down. So Brody teams up with a shark expert named Hooper and a fisherman named Quint. Together, the three main heroes set out into the open ocean to hunt down the shark and destroy it before it does more damage to the town. Now, what did I think of the film Jaws? Well, I really liked it. I loved how the film was introduced, and I liked the fact that it's one of the best films of all time. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's a timeless classic that's worth rewatching over and over again. I love the fact that it's very well introducing its characters. I love the performances, the writing, the direction by Steven Spielberg, and the buildup of the shark until an hour into the movie is well worth the wait. Now, when I was first introduced to Jaws, I watched it on DVD. And then when I got the 4K Blu-ray and watched it again, I really enjoyed it once more, showing how much of a classic this film is. I really love how the film is definitely well done, making it one of cinema's greatest achievements. Richard D. Zanuck and David Brown, the producers at Universal Pictures, saw Peter Benchley's novel Jaws and decided that they wanted to give it a title with Steven Spielberg. Originally, they wanted to have it titled Leviathan, but Spielberg declined, stating that he wanted a film where audiences should be so scared to go to the water. So he wanted to title it Jaws, and the producers agreed with him that they would do Jaws. They had to remove some elements from the novel in order to make the characters likable and relatable to the audience. The mechanical shark did not work throughout much of the production, much to Spielberg's frustration, because the seawater had corroded most of the technology. So the director decided to make it a film that had built-in tension, where the audiences would feel like they were pulled underneath the water by a shark, and that no one would even see the shark until an hour into the movie. Even Roy Scheider, who did the character Brody, would do the chum scene many times over and over again, and then finally, the mechanical shark would work, and that really showed what an improvement filmmaking could be. This successful art in filmmaking definitely makes Jaws one of the most cinematic and most amazing greatest achievements ever. Now let's talk about the man who directed the 1975 film Jaws and find out how the cinematography really captures the brilliant essence of how this classic film really holds up. The film was directed by Steven Spielberg, who was a really great choice in directing this amazing film. You could tell that Steven Spielberg was the perfect choice to direct the film Jaws. He was very creative in his plan on how to make the buildup of the shark very scary, and he also knew how to make the dialogue between the cast and crew very much memorable, and to make their motivations very relatable for the audiences. This definitely makes Steven Spielberg one of the most iconic directors in history. The cinematography was done by Bill Butler, who was definitely a really good choice to do the shots of this film. With every shot that he shoots, you could tell that the cinematography really holds up. From the shots of Enemy Island, to the shots of the open sea, all the way to the shots of where you see the shark finally make its appearance. This definitely shows how much cinematography holds up in this film, making the film Jaws not only iconic, but one of the most well-known classics in the history of cinema today. Now that we talked about the direction and the writing, now let's talk about the characters and what makes them very relatable to the audience in this amazing film. First up, we have Chief Brody, who is the head of the small town in Enemy Island. Throughout the film, his job is to make sure that everybody is safe. By the end of the movie, he overcomes this fear by killing off the shark, making him such a fun character. He is played by Roy Scheider, who did a really great job in portraying the character of Brody, knowing when to be fearful, to having his awesome badass moment of courage in the end. Next up is Matt Hooper, who is an oceanographer in this movie. He ends up teaming up with Brody to find a way to destroy the shark once and for all. It's interesting how he never hesitates to speak his mind to the mayor when the mayor refuses to close the beaches. The character of Hooper is such a lot of fun to watch, and by the end of the movie, he ends up surviving. His character is portrayed by the late Richard Dreyfuss, who did a really fantastic job as playing Hooper, making him such a wonderful character to watch. Next up is the grizzled shark hunter, Quint, who really does well in the film in knowing how to hunt down and destroy the massive shark for good. This character is such an amazing entertainment to watch. You can tell that the guy is having fun, and by the end of the movie, he ends up getting taken down by the shark. He is played by the late Robert Shaw, who did a really great job as the character of Quint. Next up is Ellen Brody, who is the wife of Chief Brody. She's also a family person, but is willing to respect his decision when it comes to going out into the ocean to protect the people from the shark. She is played by Lorraine Gary, who did a solid performance as Brody's wife, and she did brilliantly. Next up is the character of Larry Vaughn, who is the head of the town of Enemy Island himself. This mayor is the one that refuses to close the beaches, and yet by the time the shark attacks happen, he ends up regretting that decision. He is portrayed by the late Murray Hamilton, who did a really great job with this character. Last but not least, we come to the giant shark, Bruce himself. This character is quite a build-up. You don't see the shark in the beginning of the movie, and so it is made up of only built-in tension. Yet you can imagine how the audiences feel when they're pulled down by the shark. By the end of the movie, when he finally makes his entrance, it makes a very frightening experience, making this shark one of the most scariest monsters in cinema history. The music for Jaws was composed by the legendary John Williams, who did really good in composing this awesome score. Through every scene of the shark approaching the crew to everything else, you could tell that John Williams was having a great time. He even won an Oscar for the best performance of the score, making the music of Jaws one of the best moments in cinema history. When Jaws first came out in 1975, It became such a successful film that audiences really loved this iconic movie. This spawned a successful VHS release, and it eventually paved the way for the 30th Anniversary Edition DVD. Then it was re-released in the Anniversary Collector's Edition DVD, and it eventually spawned the Blu-ray plus DVD combo, which no doubt has sharp quality. And then it was re-released in the 100th Anniversary Edition of the Blu-ray and DVD combo, eventually leading up into the 4K Blu-ray, and it spawned a release of the 4K Blu-ray with the 45th Anniversary Limited Edition. Each of those qualities make it quite a successful film. Each of the different releases make Jaws one of the most iconic and amazing films in cinema history. Now that we've talked about the different release medias of the first film Jaws, it's time to end the video, where it talks about my final thoughts on the movie. Overall, Jaws is an absolute masterpiece. It has great storytelling, great characters, fantastic direction by Steven Spielberg, and the buildup of the shark was well worth the wait. And the score by John Williams was absolutely fantastic. This is a movie definitely worth rewatching over and over again, which makes it no doubt one of the most successful films ever. Well, that's all for now. Tune in next time when I talk about another film that Steven Spielberg directed, which is the 1993 film Jurassic Park. I hope you really enjoyed this video of my review of the 1975 classic film Jaws. And if you really liked this video, feel free to like, comment, share, and or subscribe, and stay tuned. And as always, until next time, I'll see y'all later. See ya.